look, I look at Auburn, and I'll stay with me with this analogy. Auburn is to the SEC what Kansas is
Yeah.
to the Big 12.
Well said.
Kansas has 3 or 4 wins on the docket. Kansas is the last team you want to play right now if you've got something on the line because they upset Iowa State, took them out of the equation last week. They upset BYU, so now 3 other teams in the Big 12 control their own destiny. And they're sitting there on the season at 4-6, much like Auburn. And by the way, guess who they have next? Kansas. They have Colorado.
Yeah.
And so to spin it away for a second, there are teams that are out there, a la Auburn, who it's like, yeah, I mean, the record says this, but maybe their play would dictate otherwise. And that's what we have during the final stretch of the season. Another game on a big SEC Saturday that I'd like to get to is LSU Florida. That was the 3:30 Eastern game. The big story coming out was Billy Napier safe. They are going to stick with him. Scott Strickland released that statement. So we're like, okay, we're going to rally around Billy Napier, young team. It's great. I want to talk Billy first. I've been on this show and I've been on your show of saying they shouldn't have fired Dan Mullen because of the success that he had. And it appeared Billy wasn't going to be able to continue that success. I don't know how that's going to end up. I do know the team plays hard, and I do know they have looked a lot better since making the quarterback switch because of injury and just from the beginning of the season. Start with Billy Napier. Your thoughts there, because I think it was the right thing to do to retain Billy and not start this whole coaching search over again.
Yeah, they were not prepared to hire a new coach. So when you're not prepared and you're not in aligned, corporate word, not really a word I like in college football, it's best to do what they did. That was an important win psychologically. They're very likely now to go to a bowl game. They're one of the few programs in a major conference like the SEC that will celebrate that. But for them, it's a big deal, and that was a significant win. Now, you just said you don't want to play Kansas. If you're another team, you do want to play LSU.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I am in full disclosure, as you know, because I talk to you every Monday after I talk to Brian Kelly. It's something that came about 2 years ago, and we really enjoyed the relationship. And in the last few weeks, it's just downright, like riding a roller coaster at Six Flags because it's almost indescribable what a hot mess LSU is at the moment. I mean, you see Kelly yelling at players. I'm yelling back at him. You see the Notre Dame fans chirping, especially if they get through the next 2 weeks and make the playoffs. And he is suddenly in a really bad spot because this season has blown up on him. And he had the number one quarterback in the country committed, and now that's about to become a bidding war with Michigan for dollars of which we have never seen before. And if he doesn't get that guy, I don't know what next year looks like for him.
So, okay, how bad is it in Baton Rouge? They've lost 3 in a row. He was won 10 games each of his first 2 seasons.
It's bad because LSU fans they have no basement. I mean, they just go from beating Alabama a week ago to maybe getting to the SEC championship game and the playoffs to now the season is over, and they have a home game next week against Vanderbilt. I doubt the enthusiasm level in the parking lot is going to be it's going to be close to comatose. Uh, and then the final game of the year is against Oklahoma, which won't be any better. And Kelly, who I really believe is an elite coach, somehow has just watched this thing blow up on him. A number of injuries happened, and who knows what else. Garrett Nussmeier cannot get out of his own shadow. And I think depending on how this season ends, I mean, Kelly's going to be facing uh, maybe the coldest winter of any SEC coach.
Best they can finish now is 8-4. And look, maybe I'll play a little devil's advocate here with Brian Kelly and LSU. Again, I talked about this on Sunday Bloody Sunday earlier, that a lot of times preseason media and preseason hype, they don't take into consideration what's gone from the program. We looked at Michigan, defending national champions, half the roster and coach staffs off to the NFL. We looked at Florida State. We just assumed. We assumed pencil them in, logo on the helmet. They were good last year, so they must be good this year. Is it possible that you could look at LSU and be like, oh, you know what? Jaden Daniels, who's tearing it up in the NFL right now, won the Heisman Trophy, number 2 pick overall, gone. You know what? Malik Neighbors is actually pretty good, gone. You know what? Brian Thomas Jr., actually pretty good, gone. Is it possible that LSU coming into the season just wasn't as good as the number attached to the roster because this was going to be a transition year because of all that talent that was lost, minus the offensive line, who was supposed to be the best in the country?